Emily Dawson had always been the kind of person who planned everything down to the smallest detail. She liked her days predictable, her coffee brewed the same way every morning, and her social calendar filled with only the people she trusted most. Jake Matthews had been on that list for as long as she could remember. They'd met in middle school, survived awkward teen years together, and somehow managed to stay close even after life scattered their paths in different directions. So when Jake's birthday rolled around, Emily knew exactly what she wanted to do: keep it simple. Just the two of them, a cake, maybe a few gifts, and a night of catching up. Nothing flashy. Nothing overwhelming. She figured he'd appreciate the peace, especially after the stressful year he'd had at work. The morning of his birthday, Emily was already bustling around her small, sunlit apartment. She set out a white tablecloth, arranged a chocolate cake in the center, and carefully placed 3 candles on top, one for each decade of his life. Her hands moved with practiced ease, but her mind wandered to the countless birthdays they'd shared. She remembered the year she surprised him with a skateboard when they were 15, the time they made a ridiculous pact to eat an entire pizza by themselves, and the more recent years when their celebrations had been squeezed between work deadlines and adult obligations. A soft knock at the door jolted her back to the present. She wasn't expecting him for another half hour, but when she peeked through the peephole, she saw Mrs. Adler from across the hall holding a package. "Morning, Emily. This came for you," the elderly woman said with a warm smile. Emily thanked her, tucked the small box onto her kitchen counter, and returned to arranging the gift bags for Jake. By the time the clock hit 6, Emily had everything ready: cake on the table, coffee brewing, and soft music humming in the background. When the knock came again, she grinned, knowing it was finally him. Jake stood there with his familiar easy smile, but there was something else in his expression, a spark of anticipation she couldn't quite place. In one hand, he carried a bottle of sparkling cider, and in the other, an envelope. "You're early," Emily teased. "I know. I couldn't wait," Jake replied, stepping inside. They settled into the living room, laughter filling the space as they cut the cake and exchanged small gifts. Emily gave him a cozy navy scarf she'd knitted herself, and he seemed genuinely touched. But as the plates cleared and the evening quieted, Jake slid the envelope toward her. "This is actually for you," he said. Emily blinked. "For me? It's your birthday. Just open it," he insisted. Inside was an old, slightly faded photograph. It showed 2 children, a boy and a girl, running through a park toward an ice cream stand. The boy had a shock of messy brown hair, the girl a ponytail swinging behind her. Emily felt her breath hitch. "This was the summer before 7th grade, Jake said softly. "Your family had just moved to town. Remember how you got lost at the fair?" Emily's eyes widened as the memory rushed back. She'd been terrified that day, wandering between crowded stalls until a boy she barely knew had offered her his ice cream and walked her back to her parents. She hadn't realized until now that it was Jake. "I found this picture a few weeks ago," Jake continued. "And I realized, that day was when I decided you were going to be my best friend. I've been planning to give this to you for a while. Today just felt right." Emily's throat tightened, but a smile broke through. "You've been holding on to this for 20 years. Some things are worth keeping," Jake said simply. They talked for hours after that, reliving old memories, filling in the gaps where life had pulled them apart. And when Jake finally stood to leave, Emily walked him to the door, the photograph clutched gently in her hand. The night air was crisp, and the city street beyond her doorway was quiet. Jake turned, meeting her eyes. "Thanks for today, Em," he said. "No," she replied with a soft laugh, "thank you for the surprise." As he walked away, Emily looked down at the photograph again, a warmth blooming in her chest. She realized that sometimes, the biggest surprises weren't about grand gestures or expensive gifts, they were about the quiet proof that someone had been there all along, holding on to the moments that mattered. It was a birthday neither of them would ever forget.